Alright, welcome back to the Walking Code C++ programming. Lesson 5. In Lesson 5, we're going to be learning about getting input from our user. Alright, and the way we're going to do this is, what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to learn how to get input from the user, and then we're going to learn how to use that input in our programs, because we can ask users to input data all day long, and if we don't do anything with it, it really doesn't amount to a hill of beans. So what we're going to do is, in our console programs, in our command line window, which is a console program, is we are going to use the cin, or the sin function, to get input from a user. And then we're going to store that input inside of a variable, okay? Because variables can be either set statically or they can be set at what's called runtime with the sin command. And there are other commands that can set variables at runtime as well. Don't think sin is the only one. So, for example, I have a variable called yourbullets. It's an integer, which we all know integers, just to review, are whole numbers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to have a prompt for the user telling them what value to put in, or what they're putting a value in for. So I could have a cout statement that says input the number of bullets you currently have, and the user would put that in, press the enter key, and then it would store that number in that variable. Okay, so our program today is going to do the following. We're going to build upon our program from the last lesson. It's going to ask us how many bullets we have, and it's going to ask us how many sandwiches we have, because remember, bullets and sandwiches are essential supplies in the zombie apocalypse. You have to eat as well as be able to shoot. Okay, so our program from last time says, how many supplies do we have? Well, I have 8 bullets. I also have 5 sandwiches to split among us. And then there's going to be an output here that says, oh, you have bullets and sandwiches as well? Great. How many bullets do you have? And we're going to say we have 10 bullets. How many sandwiches do you have? And we're going to say we have 3 sandwiches. And then we're going to press any key to continue. Alright, because that's part of our system pause thing. Otherwise, it'll just flash up on the screen, go away real quick, and we won't know whether our program worked or not. Alright, let's get down to making the code, what's going to make this work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zap over to Visual Studio here. There we go. And I'm going to bump the resolution up to about 150. And I'm going to highlight the section of code that we are currently concerned with. Because we went over these other sections of code in the last couple lessons. We went over what header files are, variables are, cout statements, and all that stuff. So we're going to kind of avoid that. We're just going to talk about the pertinent section of code. Okay, I have a cout statement that says, oh, you have bullets and sandwiches as well? Great. In fact, let me put a start lesson 5. Oh, wrong one. Give me just a second. Let's see here. I'll do a multi-line comment. There we go. We can use a multi-line comment just for that. There we go. That way, if I want to add anything to it, I can have a multi-line comment. That's perfectly okay. So we're saying, oh, you have bullets and sandwiches as well? Great. So that's the cout statement. It's in between quotes. It's going to literally print whatever's inside the quotes on the screen, except for this little backslash and n. That just means new line, carriage return, that type of thing. And then we're asking the user, how many bullets do you have? So the user knows to input a value in the yourbullets variable. Now we're going to ask the user, how many sandwiches do you have? And the user will input how many sandwiches they have. And these prompts are very important. Whenever you're asking a user for data, you should tell them what kind of data or what they're inputting a value for. Maybe not what kind of data, but what they're inputting a value for. Because if I didn't have this, if it just sat there at a blinking cursor, the user might put in nothing because they're waiting for something else to happen. Or they might put in a value for sandwiches, or they might put in some invalid data into our program. We can validate the data that users put into our program. That's not a problem. We're going to cover that at another lesson. And then I use the cin command with the greater than symbols, and then the name of the variable that the user is going to store a value in. Now, the data that the user inputs has to match up with the data type of the variable. For example, I have integers, or excuse me, my bullets are integers, my sandwiches are doubles, or a double variable type. We'll find out why in a later lesson, probably the next lesson in fact. And then all I did here was I made a call to the cout function, and I just put in 2 new line statements, so it kind of presses the enter key twice for me, basically is all that does. And then system pause so I can see what happened, and then I return 0, meaning everything ran fine with my program. Once I press the enter key, the window closes out and everything's fine. So let's take a look at this. Let's actually execute this from within Visual Studio. There we go. Give it a second or 2 or 3 or 4. Here we go. How many supplies do we have? I have 8 bullets. I also have 5 sandwiches to split among us. I think I changed those strings from the last lesson. I put I instead of we just to make a clearer definition of what we're doing here. How many bullets do I have? Let me see. I'm going to say I have 10 bullets. And I'm going to say I have 8 sandwiches. There we go. Press any key to continue. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this again. And we're going to see what happens when I have... what happens if I say I have half a bullet. Right? It bombs out because it doesn't know what to do. It skips over to sandwiches portion because bullets are an integer data type, and you can only put whole numbers inside of an integer. In fact, it didn't give me an error message. I'll be darned. It just quit on me. Well, that's nice. Well, because I don't have any error handling built into my program yet. That's a little bit above really what we're doing here. So getting input from users, awesome thing to do. So what we did in this lesson was we learned how to get input from the user. We learned about the cin command, the console in command. You have to use the greater than symbol, 2 greater than symbols with the cin command. You have to use 2 less than symbols with the cout command. I think that's the most confusing thing for beginning students. Alright, so if you found this informative, thank you. If you need to go back and review, we have 4 more lessons before this one, where you can go back and review the various concepts. We will have more coming up in the coming weeks. I know things have been a bit slow going up, but life gets in the way. I do apologize. We're going to be putting up a lot more over the next couple weeks. We're not going to be putting out tons and tons and tons of the same stuff, because I want everybody to take their time and learn this stuff at a decent pace. Alright, thank you for viewing.